What if Infernities were in Magic the Gathering? Infernity are cards that require you to have no cards in your hand to activate their powerful effects. You'll see what I mean with Infernity Necromancer, a level 3 Dark Attribute Fiend with 0 attack and 2000 defense. And the effect, when this card is normal summoned, it is changed to the defense position. If you have no cards in your hand, this card gains the following effect. Once per turn, you can select one Infernity monster in your graveyard, except Infernity Necromancer, and special summon it. As someone less familiar with Magic, I would make Infernity Necromancer a 3-cost demon skeleton with 2 black and 1 generic with 0 attack and 4 toughness, and the effect, Hellbent. When Infernity Necromancer enters the battlefield, target 1 black demon or horror creature spell from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. Now, I would say Hellbent is a keyword that's live if you have no cards in hand when it comes time to resolve the effect. However, Hellbent is an ability word and not a keyword, as noted by italics and M-, being more akin to flavor text, as it can't be referred to mechanically, having no rules meaning whatsoever. This card has a black cost, as cards with this ability word usually have a red or black cost, as well as the fact that black commonly returns creatures to the battlefield, and contains the creature types demon and horror the most. Infernity Necromancer returns a black horror or demon to the battlefield, as Infernities, as a whole, are composed of demons or monstrosities from the depths of hell. Infernity Necromancer has 4 toughness, as I would consider every 500 attack or defense points in Yugioh to be equivalent to 1 stat point in Magic. Infernity Necromancer targets a creature type, instead of an extremely specifically named black creature, as Magic the Gathering generally targets a card's type, color, cost, etc., or name drops the card that pertains to it, like how the instant spell Jace's Defeat name drops Jace in its effect text. It costs 3 converted mana, as it has no attack, only having value as a blocker. Also, having no cards in your hand is a cost in and of itself, as many defensive options are instant spells in your hand, losing the opportunity to interrupt your opponent on their turn, as they're building their board or defending your own. Next card up is Infernity Randomizer, a level 1 Dark Attribute Fiend with 900 attack and 0 defense, and the effect, once per turn, while you have no cards in your hand, you can draw 1 card and reveal it. For a monster card drawn with this effect, inflict damage to your opponent equal to the level of that monster times 200. For a spell or trap card, you take 500 damage instead. If this card were in Magic, it would become a 2-cost artifact, creature, construct, demon, with 1 black and 1 red, with 2 attack and 1 toughness, and the effect, Hellbent, 1 red-black hybrid mana. Hybrid mana meaning you pay this cost with either color. Tap. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, target opponent loses life equal to half of its converted mana cost, rounded down. If it's a non-creature spell, you lose 1 life. Draw a card. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. This card deals damage based on half of the revealed card's converted mana cost, rounded down, because it would deal way too much damage if it was the full amount. It's also why you need to pay 1 red or black mana to tap Infernity Randomizer. It costs 2 different colored mana, as there's this other card called Ragamuffin, a 3-cost zombie cleric with the effect Hellbent. Tap. Sacrifice a creature or land. Draw a card. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. And while Infernity Randomizer doesn't make you sacrifice a creature or a land to draw a card, it does have the potential self-burn, colored tap cost, and 1 less toughness than Ragamuffin. It becomes a demon construct, as it's 2 revolvers with a demon slapped in the center. It has a potential black cost, as you have a chance to lose life to draw a card, and a potential red cost, as it can deal damage to your opponent. Next card up is Infernity Guardian, a level 4 Dark Attribute Fiend with 1200 attack and 1700 defense, and the effect, while you have no cards in your hand, this face-up card cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Converting this card, it may become a 3-cost Horror Elemental Spirit, with 1 black and 2 generic, with 3 attack and 4 toughness, and the effect, Hellbent. As long as you have no cards in hand, Infernity Guardian gains Indestructible, meaning this card cannot be destroyed or take damage. It has a black cost, as black often has ways to commonly gain Indestructible. It's a horror, as it's more of a hellspawn than a fully fledged demon, so it becomes a horror alongside the creature types Elemental and Spirit, as is just a flaming skull. This card costs 3 mana instead of 4, as it's still kinda gimmicky to pull off. The next card to be converted is Infernity Launcher, a continuous spell card with the effect, once per turn, you can send 1 Infernity monster from your hand to the graveyard. You can send this card to the graveyard, then target up to 2 Infernity monsters in your graveyard, special summon them. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect. If this card were in Magic, it would become a 1 black cost artifact with the effect, tap, discard a black creature, Hellbent, tap, sacrifice Infernity Launcher, target up to 2 black demon or horror creature spells in your graveyard. You may cast those spells from your graveyard. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. This card is an artifact, as they are non-creature spells that stay on the field, just how continuous spells do, with tap abilities to make effects a pseudo once per turn. It costs only 1 black, as the generic tap ability is very specific, and if you weren't running a mono black self-discard deck, you're going minus for no benefit. It costs no converted mana, since you still have to pay the mana cost of the creatures you're returning to the battlefield. And need I remind you of the no hand requirement? Next card up is Infernity Conjurer, a level 3 Dark Attribute Fiend with 1200 attack and 900 defense, and the effect, while you have no cards in hand, monsters your opponents control lose 800 attack, while you have no cards in your hand and this card is in your graveyard. You can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of Infernity Conjurer once per turn. Converting this card, I would make it a 3-cost demon with 1 black and 2 generic, with 3 attack and 2 toughness, and the effect, Hellbent, as long as you have no cards in hand. Creatures your opponent controls get -2/-0. Unearth, 2 black. Unearth allowing you to resummon a creature from the graveyard with haste, allowing you to attack or use tap abilities the turn they are played for its unearth cost. However, it's exiled at the end of the turn or when it leaves the battlefield. It has an unearth cost of 2 black to make up for the fact that unless you have no cards in your hand, it's essentially an effectless creature on board. Next card to be converted is Infernity Barrier, a counter trap card with the effect, when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, while you control a face-up attack position Infernity monster, and have no cards in your hand. Negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. If this card were to be converted into Magic, it may become a 3-cost instant spell with 1 blue, 1 black, and 1 red, with the effect, Foretell, 1 blue, 1 red black. The keyword Foretell, meaning that you pay 2 generic to exile this card face down, to be played for a later turn by paying its foretold cost. Counter target spell, activated ability, or triggered ability. Mana abilities can't be targeted. Hellbent, as long as you have no cards in hand, if a permanent's ability is countered this way, and you control a target black, demon, or horror creature permanent. Destroy that permanent. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. This card becomes an instant spell with Foretell to mimic setting a trap card face down, as if you don't know, trap cards are cards that can be activated on either player's turn, just like instant spells, so long as it was set face down for at least one turn. I changed the conditional effects to only pertain to the destruction effect, since cards that can prevent anything from happening are commonplace in Magic, while decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Bend over backwards to get consistent Omni protection. It has a 3-colored mana cost, as cards that counter target spells, activate ability, or triggered abilities cost at least 3 mana. Its foretold cost is 2-colored mana, as that is the standard cost for counter spells. It has a blue cost, as blue is the color that counters cards the most, and a red-black cost, since cards that destroy any permanent seem to be in line with the color shard, Grix. Cards with a blue, red, and black color cost, as the idea of this card is countering and immediately retaliating, being in control and exacting cruel revenge. The next card to be converted is Infernity Archfiend, a level 4 Dark Attribute Fiend with 1800 attack and 1200 defense, and the effect: when you draw this card, if you have no other cards in your hand, you can reveal this card, special summon this card from your hand. When this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Infernity card from your deck to your hand. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect. If this card were in Magic, it would become a 4-cost demon with 2 black and 2 generic, with 4 attack and 3 toughness, and the effect: Miracle, 1 black. Miracle meaning that if this card is the first card you drew this turn, play it for its miracle cost instead. And Hellbent: when Infernity Archfiend enters the battlefield, search your library for a black card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Activate only if you have no cards in hand. I gave it Miracle, 1 black, to mimic special summoning Infernity Archfiend, as its effect is only live when you draw it, and it searches any black card, since it could search for spells and trap cards, as long as they had the word Infernity in them, though its search effect is a lot more generic, since this type of searching is common in Magic. Time to test the waters with this one, with Infernity Sage, a level 2 Dark Attribute Fiend Tuner monster with 400 attack and 800 defense, and the effect: during your main phase, you can discard your entire hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 Infernity monster from your deck to the graveyard. You must have no cards in your hand to activate and resolve this effect. You can only use each effect of Infernity Sage once per turn. If this card were in Magic, it would become a 2-cost Demon Soldier with 1 black and 1 generic, with 1 attack and 2 toughness, and the effect: tap, discard your hand. Whenever Infernity Sage is put into your graveyard from anywhere, search your library for a black demon or horror creature, put that card into your graveyard, then shuffle. Sacrifice creatures with combined converted mana cost of 6, and exile Infernity Sage, then return to the battlefield transformed. Activate only as a sorcery. The card that Infernity Sage transforms into is Infernity Doom Dragon, because I just had to include a synchro monster, but more on that later. Its transform ability is to mimic Infernity Sage being a tuner monster, as tuners are cards that use themselves and other monsters you control to summon cards called synchro monsters to the field, as long as the levels of the combined monsters equal the synchro summoned monster, and the materials that you use match the requirements printed on the card you're trying to summon. It also requires creatures with a combined mana cost. However, this does mean you're pigeonholed into one specific synchro, as the level of generic consistency in summoning a variety of different cards would break Magic overnight. For its transformation effect, it can only be activated as a sorcery, as you could only synchro summon during your main phases. You can use the self-hand wipe effect at any time you could play an instant spell, as there's this card called 1 with Nothing, a 1 black cost instant spell with the effect discard your entire hand. The reason why I bring this up is because it's revered as one of the worst Magic cards ever printed, as you're discarding your entire hand for virtually no benefit. It's also a soldier in addition to demon, since it has armor and a sword-like weapon. The last card we will be converting is Infernity Doom Dragon, a level 8 dark attribute dragon with 300 attack and 2400 defense, and the effect, once per turn, if you have no cards in your hand, you can select one monster your opponent controls, destroy that monster, and inflict damage to your opponent equal to half of its attack. This card cannot attack during the same turn you activated this effect. Converting this card into Magic, it would become a black-red dragon horror with 8 attack and 5 toughness and an 8 converted mana cost. And the effect, tap, destroy target creature, and target opponent loses life equal to half of its attack rounded down. Its burn and destruction effect is a tap effect, since tapping creatures to use an effect is the same as preventing it from attacking. Even though I said every 500 points in Yugioh was equal to 1 stat point in Magic, for stat lines past 2000, every 500 points are equal to 2, to signify the importance of nominal stat lines of 2500 and 3000, since cards that have stat lines past 2500 is part of the reason why the card is played, is a horror alongside dragon because of the extra eyes and appendages on its body. It's a black-red card, as creature destruction is a black effect and instant damage is a red effect. If there is anything I should have changed, or any ideas on cards I should convert next, please let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, you should check out this one, where I converted Yu-Gi-Oh monsters into planeswalkers / commanders.
Ooh, does this one let me summon Archfiend 30 times per turn? And when it doesn't, the card immediately becomes a questionable choice to run.